How is all getting on? I said I pop on tonight, have a chat with you. It's been a couple of weird days because obviously the media are sprung out with this Derby result. The aftermath of the Derby out to be the biggest thing in the fucking world. There's worse things going on in the world than two sets of supporters having a bit of you know disagreement to each other. But look, it is what it is. We'll move on from the game, and we're into the Scottish Cup semi-finals. I just think the media have made an absolute shambles of this. Like, I see all these YouTubers that like go to the games and they say they're neutral YouTubers, and then they're like, "Oh my god, I wonder why the allocation hasn't been like this for years." Oh my god, just shut the fuck up. Just shut up. Honestly, just shut up, because you know what? The reason why it hasn't been like that for 8 years is because Rangers were getting pumped by Celtic every single fucking season and being dominant, and they couldn't take it because we were pumping them. It was nothing to do with security. It's because they can't control their fans. The fans invade the pitch. We've seen instances of them. One going for Scott Brown in 2016, and then Scott Sinclair getting racist abuse. And then on top of that as well, you see Arnie Ingles getting cracked with lighter as well. Then the season before, it was Matt O'Reilly got a Buckfast bottle thrown his ankle. Like, you look at the actual video of when Big Tam scores the penalties, a small portion of Celtic fans literally at the goal, just before the goal, and a few run on, and then you just see a big squadron of Rangers fans running three-quarters the way onto the pit, like basically to airbox. I was like, they're making out Celtic fans to be the hooligans here. The hooligans. Like, STV was showing the away end last night, even though that was the fucking Copeland stand with seats missing and stuff. I'm like, what is going on? Honestly, what is going on? So I said I'd pop on tonight, folks, have a chat about what happened the weekend, as I am doing right now, and talk about the big fucking question that everyone asks me on this podcast all the time: who will be the next Celtic manager? So I put up a post yesterday on my Facebook and my Instagram, Come on the Hoop, saying, would you take Roberto Martinez? And I have to say it was about 50-50. Few people were saying, nah, keep Martin O'Neill. I want Martin O'Neill to stay. Some people are like, nah, I want Knutson, Bodo Glint's manager. By the way, Bodo Glint are winning 2-0 as I'm recording this live. They're winning 2-0 after being watching the game against Sporting Lisbon. Some people are saying Motherwell guy. Some people are saying watch the space. I have a feeling it's going to be Steve Clark. Some people are saying David Moyes, of all. So there was all sorts of comments on the post, and it's great to see that people are thinking, outside the box, and people are thinking common sense as well. Go for the Motherwell manager. Askew is the one. Well, obviously, the reports say that he wants to build a legacy at Motherwell. He's looking to stay there long term. But you're going to say that because obviously they're the ones who employ you. You're not going to turn around and say, oh, I want to move in the summer to Celtic, even though he's being spotted at a good few Celtic games. You spotted a game with John Collins. You were spotted at the Glasgow Derby, the 2-2 game, which he left early when Celtic got back into it. So it's been interesting. I'm going to pull up on the screen the favourites, and we're going to go through it name by name. I'm going to pull up on the screen as well the win ratios of these managers, what they've achieved. What I will say about Askew is playing good standard of football in Scotland. And I think a lot of the European football world is looking Motherwell like, well, they're doing pretty well. Yeah, they had a bit of a hiccup against Dundee last weekend, but they have one of the best defensive records in Europe. They have a good squad morale, and I think it is the easy approach to go for Askew, no question about it. I think that would be the number one choice. In my head, the one choice we should be Knutson, but we're not going to get Knutson. I'll be honest with you. Why would you leave a club that are progressing every single season, every single season, from Conference League to a couple of seasons later, Europa League. I think they actually got into the Conference League semi-final at one point. Europa League semi-finalists. Now they're in the Champions League. Look like they're about to qualify for the last 8 of the Champions League. Why would you want to leave a project there and they're going to get a new stadium, players play together, they're happy together? For Celtic, that's a broken jigsaw at the moment between board and fans and a rebuild. So you're the one that's to come in, even though managers always have to come in and obviously shuffle around and get players in. But it looks like a massive rebuild. And we've done it before. We've done it with Ange. Look at Ange bringing 12 players in rebuild in the first season. But it's good to see all the comments in tonight, folks, on YouTube and Facebook. Please subscribe to the channel. The channel is absolutely pumping the last few days because we put up a couple of videos of meltdowns. We put up a video of a meltdown of Jamie Bryson. He had an absolute meltdown. He tweeted out Celtic 39 times in one day. He slated Martin O'Neill, which he doesn't have a clue what he's talking about, to be honest with you. And then David Graham, that works for Rangers as well, for Sefco, he starts slating Martin O'Neill as well. Two hypocrites. Don't have a fucking clue. Wouldn't call out their own fans. Would not call out their own fans who, there's a clip of a Rangers fan kicking a Celtic fan in the head. And then there was a clip of three Rangers fans in the middle of the street kicking a Celtic fan in the head. But no, they don't call this out because they make everything out to be they're the victims. They're the victims. They have the conspiracy that the Scottish FA are against them. The referees are terrified to go against Celtic decisions. All this bullshit from Rangers fans. And then the iconic clip yesterday that was trending was there was a Rangers fan on Rangers radio, and basically he turned around and he said Martin O'Neill has ruined our chances this season. Yes, he has. That's what he gets paid for. He came in, ruined us in the semi-final of the League Cup. He's ruined us of getting a big 3 points at Ibrox against us in the league, and then ruined us in the Scottish Cup. So yes, that's what he gets paid for. And they're delusional. The delusional minds of them of thinking that they should have deserved the game. Their fans were bullied. Their fans done nothing wrong, even though their fans came onto the pitch, ran up to the goal, ran up to the edge of the box with pyro, throwing it into Celtic fans. Now, folks, what I will say is not every Celtic fan is good. We do have a small portion of fans that get too pissed, that ruin it for other people, and that's what happens across the football world. Not every football club has perfect fans, and that's the God honest truth. But what I've heard, because I was not at the game, what I heard was the policing going into the game was horrendous. The stewards were horrendous. They were squashing people in, which that shouldn't be happening. So they should have learned from that disaster of Hillsborough when they pushed a lot of people, squashing people in, and what happened. And then, look, stickers on walls is nothing. You see stickers on poles every single day when you're going to work or when you're in Glasgow or anywhere in the world. The stickers in bars, for God's sake, in toilets and stuff. I'm not worried about stickers, but this whole bullshit of up to 100 grand, 100 grand of damages. What a load of absolute nonsense. A load of nonsense, to be honest. Paint the wall. I don't agree with the whole 66 mocking stuff. I don't agree with that, folks. I think that is absolute foil, whoever wrote that. But you know what? It's only stickers. The rest of it is all stickers. Who cares? And seats, what do you expect? Like, Rangers come to Celtic Park and they rip seats up. The average rip up about 3 or 4 seats. Average. Sometimes they rip up about 20 seats and then you go in and smash the toilets up. You know, it happens. And sadly, that's society, and society is getting bad. And they've wrecked their toilets, and we like the small portion of fans, small portion of people that go to these games that just cause trouble. And you can't take away they've been drinking all day, they've probably been taking substances that they haven't been. But like calling out like the 7,500 Celtic fans for bad behaviour is an absolute fucking joke. I think, to be honest with you, I think they conducted themselves quite well. I think they, and I just don't like the media way they sprung it out to be, oh my God, like I wonder why the allocation was cut. The allocation has to be cut. They're trying to put words in the mouths. Police Scotland should have had more police officers at that game. Let's be honest. There should have been more stewards stepping up to the plate. But yeah, it's okay for Rangers fans to have 3 full stands singing about killing Catholics, singing about the famine, singing about up to our knees in Fenian blood. So that's okay. That's okay to accept. That bigotry, that sectarianism at its finest. I honestly, it just makes me wonder. Like, and they call themselves the victims. Well, look, they got what they're given, and they were knocked out in penalties. And if they won that game, you wouldn't hear that much. But this is the problem. This is the example. Celtic supporters from all clubs, when they go into a high-profile game and they win the game in dramatic style, fans sometimes tend to get carried away. For example, I think I remember, was it Sefco played Livy, and the 2 stands behind the goal, all the fans ran onto the pitch, and they played Livingston away a couple of years ago. Like, yeah, some of our fans ran on the pitch when Araujo scored against Kilmarnock. But that's the joys of football. This is why you support Celtic Football Club. Football's not about the fans, and I condemn violence at football games. I condemn aggression. But when you have people calling up radios and saying, "Oh, I was terrified for me and my daughter's life. I was terrified," mate, do the common sense. Leave the stadium with a bunch of people. Like, you're making out Celtic fans to be murderers. Like, oh my God! Like, I was just listening. I was like, you are one of these absolute falls for that mainstream media shit. Like, I listened to Talk Sports yesterday about Martin O'Neill saying he's deeply saddened about this spectacle and how it's not going to happen. The 7,500 probably not again. It's just a lot of bollocks. A load of bollocks. As I said, I'm looking at it. I've looked at the videos. I took green tints off, and I looked at it and I was like, you know what? I'd say it's been 85. You know how I work it out? I'd say it's been 80% Rangers' fault, 10%, and I would say, yeah, 10% of the stewards' fault and the policing fault, and then a small portion down to Celtic. Small portion down to Celtic fans. I didn't see Celtic fans run on the pitch looking for war, looking for trouble. All I seen was Rangers fans trying to charge at the stewards with all sorts of objects. Unbelievable. But look, I won't keep talking about it because number one, I'm bored talking about it. Number two, we won. And number three, the most important thing is a fan's input, regardless of this STV or every single mainstream media blown out of proportion, former players blown out of proportion. They're only doing that for clickbait. I'm not here to clickbait. I'm not here to clickbait. I'm here to talk to you and say it as it is, as a perspective. They fucking absolutely, the media made it out to be the end of the world. It was made out to be that, fans were going in with guns, other fans were going in guns, and there was a shoot down or something in the middle of the pitch. They made it out to be. As I said, I condemn violence. But our fans were celebrating with our players. I mean, they were enjoying the moment, and then they couldn't take the fucking heat, and they ran up and couldn't accept it. End of. That's the truth. Simple as I said. See, you couldn't all that writing on the wall. I don't agree with it. But people don't moan about stickers. People don't moan. The reason why this was highlighted is because of what happened. I guaranteed if this situation didn't happen with these both set of fans, as you want to call, even though I say it's more so police and Rangers fans, they wouldn't be putting up the picture saying, "Oh, Celtic caused this, Celtic caused that." Celtic was celebrating. They weren't being aggressive. Celtic fans weren't being aggressive. They were taking the piss out of Rangers fans with Penny Arcade, Simply the Best, all that stuff. So let's go into the comments. Let's see what people are saying. Subscribe to the channel. If you like me, if you want to disagree with me, no problem. If you want to agree with me, that's no problem at all. Plunge, good to see you. By the way, it's great to see you in. Keith, for years we were called paranoid, the anti-Celtic agenda in the mainstream media. This week has proven, no doubt, there is anti-Celtic agenda. That's it. And they're pushing that, like, what the club hasn't commented yet. The club hasn't commented about this. Well, I'm sure the club will comment when they're ready to comment. At the end of the day, are you surprised? The board hide behind fucking curtains all the time anyway. Simple as. Now there's rumours going around tonight that accordingly for the last Glasgow Derby league game, the Cream Buns are going to get 2,500 allocation at Celtic Park. You know what? We had our allocation there, allocation twice in the league. So what's the fuss? Get over and done with. There's one thing that cannot. I honestly believe the police, the government. I don't think the clubs. I just think the police, the mainstream media, and the government want no away supporters at these games. We've been there, folks, and I don't agree with. I came out and said it so many times on the channel. I don't agree with having a lockout because we need to have moments when we have 500 fans or 2,000 or 3,000 fans at Ibrox when we pump them because it makes the spectacle better. I would say it as it is. See, when I'm watching them games and none of our fans are in, game goes on mute. The game goes on mute because I don't want to hear that bigotry, all that shite being sung. So I put the game on mute. And that's the way, unless I'm watching it in the pub, I have to deal with the noise of it. But yes, that's how I feel. Celtic Park, it's great to have a full allocation of our fans, full house, but you need to have some sort of away fans because it brings the derby to what it is so-called meant to be. But I think the Celtic board and the Rangers board are in bed together, clutching on this Old Firm brand. There's no such thing as Old Firm. We all know that. And they need to get out of their heads. The mainstream media needs to stop calling it an Old Firm. It's not there's no such thing as an Old Firm anymore. Simple as. Who was at fault for getting into the stadium with weapons and pyro? The police, but yet there was a more strict police presence for the away fans for searching. And if there was Celtic fans storming through emergency exits or going through turnstiles without tickets, if there was, they're claiming there is, but there's no evidence right now as we speak at what I've seen. If there was, I condemn that because that's a safety issue because you're cluttering the stadium more than it is. That is a safety issue. I don't agree with that. You know, I don't condone the 66 vandalism. Absolutely no mention of the credence in society. You know, I just thought, look, I don't think that type of stuff should have been put on the walls. You know, I don't. As I said, stickers all means plastic. Every football team goes to an opposition ground and puts stickers on chairs and puts stickers on walls. It's the normality. You know, you can't you lock someone up for a sticker. Like it's, you know. Let them in. Let's see what they bring. No excuses the next time. That's it. Like, you know, it's gonna go down to the day when we probably will get them at Celtic Park in the next 2 or 3 years. Is it gonna be a case where the SFA are gonna put pressure on Celtic? Like there's talks of fines and bans and all this bullshit. That's just the mainstream media. Bad news sells. The fact is, no matter the day, the most important thing is their fans when them players were going down that tunnel, their fans were giving absolute abuse to a level where I've never seen in football. Abuse. And one of them has the cheek to scream, saying, "This is why we don't want them in our stadium." While one of his so-called fans is at the attacking an opposition player and left him with blood on his jersey. And he's getting escorted down the tunnel, arrested. Like, what are they thinking? What are they fucking thinking? They're off their fucking rocker and pulling the tunnel and all. Like, oh, like I understand there's a level of like giving shit to opposition players, but like that was beyond it. That was well beyond it. Like spitting at our players, spitting at them, calling them wee rats, calling Sean Maloney a rat. Do they not understand these muppets that like so-called support Scotland? Like Sean Maloney's played for Scotland and scored vital goals. But these are the type of gobshites where they say they support Scotland, even though Sean Maloney scored against the Republic of Ireland at Celtic Park. I guarantee you they were cheering Sean Maloney that night. Fucking weirdos, like they're absolute weirdos. They don't have a clue. I agree with banning balaclavas. I don't think any football fan should have balaclavas. And some people will disagree with me, and some people will agree with me. I just think, that person will whip a knife out in public, may not, or get a knife stashed outside of the stadium and stab you with it, and no one's know who it was because they all wear the same colours. And I just, as I said, I don't know what's going to happen. We're getting our ultras back into the stadium. There's been no communication from the Celtic board yet again. I want our ultras back in, but I'm just saying this as a perspective for every single fan, for health and safety. If you're coming to a game, no football fan should be dreading coming to a game. They shouldn't be so-called fearing for their life or feel unsafe. They should feel like they're going to their stadium and feel good, and that's what most Celtic fans do. If there's someone's going to start kicking doors or drinking too much alcohol and act the bollocks, chuck them out and ban them. Simple as. It's like a nightclub. You act the bollocks in a nightclub, chuck them out and ban them. Doesn't mean anyone has special privileges over someone else if they sit in a certain section or they sing in a certain section. We're all the same. We're all the same. And that's to them muppets over an Ibrox. Their club need to call out these individuals, pick these individuals out and ban them. But they won't. They won't. They're terrified. They're absolutely fucking terrified of them. That's why. I don't blame Aberdeen fans for wearing a balaclava. It's effing freezing up there. Well, I suppose, speaking of Aberdeen, it looks like they're going to get Stephen Robinson. I think this is a bit of a strain. I knew this was going to happen, but I think it's strange that it's coming this late. I was expecting this to happen at the end of January, but I was saying to one of the lads I work with today, and I was like, "Who do you think be the next St. Mirren manager?" And I was like, I would not be surprised someone like Scott Brown or someone like that would be thrown into the mix. But how he's all getting on? I just want to give a shout out to Angela McGovern, Chris Devlin, Scott Patterson, John Joyce, Michael Boyers, Margaret Johnston, the usual contributors to the Facebook Live. Really appreciate it, That's it. Look, not every Rangers fan's an arsehole. Of course not. As I said, you can't judge everyone with the same brush. It's the individuals that think that they are bigger than the club and they think they have the authority to storm on a pitch and attack opposition players. There's no need for it. This, as I said, this is not just once this has happened. This has happened a couple of times. It happened with Scott Brown as well, So, yeah. I know fans are saying they shouldn't be anywhere near Celtic Park, but they're not going to get on the pitch. They're going to have that net around them anyway, and they're going to have that police presence. So I wouldn't be worrying about them at Celtic Park, folks. I wouldn't be worrying about them at all. You get rid of you lock them out. You're going to have no atmosphere for away derbies. So it can't work both ways, folks. If we want to have some fans at Ibrox, we gotta meet them halfway. Look at the amount of shite that we've dealt with them for years. Oh, we'll give you 500. We'll give you 700. We'll give you 2,000. It's a lot of bollocks, you know, a lot of bollocks, you know. You can't win with the argument. I understand a lot of you are pissed off and wouldn't want them near Celtic Park because they've ruined the seats, they've ruined the toilets, they've ruined this and they've ruined that. We're not surprised. That's the behaviour. You know, go back to the days where when the both clubs had an agreement, if there was damages done in the opposition stadium, they had to foot the bill. And then if we done any damages ourselves at Ibrox, we'd foot the bill there. But that doesn't exist anymore. You know, some of our fans giving full abuse to our player. Some of our fans. Well, I don't agree. I don't agree with any sort of Celtic fan giving abuse to our own players. I think that's horrendous. You know, like all means having a moan on social media about it. But I wouldn't go on directly onto as much as I think Kasper Schmeichel's a liability. I wouldn't go on Kasper Schmeichel's page and start saying, "Mate, you're shy. You should never play for Celtic again." I think that type of people who do that is a fucking absolute wally of a person. I wouldn't do it. I do it in my own space when I come on this, or I do it on my Instagram. But I wouldn't go out of my way to actually directly criticize a player, or it just doesn't work, you know, that way. It doesn't work. So I said, look, it's not for me to call it, Ian. It's not for you to call it. It's up to the police, it's up to the club, it's up to the SFA which way it's gonna go. But they're getting 2,500 fans anyway. You know, got to ban the Blue Ultras at Celtic Park if they don't. I agree with you. I think the Union Bears should be banned from Celtic Park, but I don't think Rangers fans should be banned. I think the Union Bears should be banned from Celtic Park for the next fixture. To be honest, after the way that they acted, 100%, Peter, I agree with you. But it's just a fucking joke. And I'm gonna change the topic anyway. I'm gonna talk about the manager stuff anyway. So yeah, look, wasn't the greatest game of football, 120 minutes, but we got there. We got over the line, and that's the most important thing as well. So, what's the Man U manager? Here we go. So, this is on Paddy Power. Celtic manager for the first game of the 26 to 27 season. Obviously, Askew is the favourite. Roberto Martinez, Robbie Keane's in there. De Zerbi, who managed Marseille. Martin O'Neill is still in contention, as it looks like there. Sean Maloney, Kieran McKenna, Ipswich, and Postecoglou, who's a free agent. Darren Fletcher, one touch. Barry, no, thank you. And then you've Mourinho, Lampard, Duff. Knutson is 22 to 1. Even though a lot of fans would love Kelechi Knutson, but it's not going to happen. It ain't going to happen, folks. It ain't going to happen. So we'll start off with the first guy, which is Askew. Because you're all mad for Askew. Everyone wants Jens Brettel Askew, the Motherwell manager, because he knows how to win games. He plays good football. He speaks well, you know. But the thing is, folks, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. As much as I want him, I think it's the easiest. I think it's the best choice. The only doubt I have is, could he manage the pressure at Celtic Football Club? Motherwell isn't Celtic Football Club, folks. You got to think about it. It isn't Celtic Football Club. This is a rebuild. We have a portion of fans who will not be patient when it comes to this rebuild. They will be moaning if there's bad results. Players come in, can't hit the ground running. And then the manager's gonna get the moan for it. They'll say, "Oh, well, let's give this guy a go." 3 months down the line, if we're not top of the league or we're struggling and we're not doing well in Europe or we're out of a cup, you're gonna have fans fucking typical jumping the can and moaning. You have to realize next year, folks, is a rebuild, and that's not me throwing the towel in and saying that we're not going to win the league next year. It's me saying you need to have patience, because don't expect a lot. Do not expect a lot, whoever we get, to be honest with you, because it'll take time. We have potentially maybe 12 to 15 players leaving in the summer who are out of contract, who are on loan. These type of players that ain't good enough, players that haven't seen the first team in bleeding a season or a half, like Odin Home and stuff like that. Like players like that. It's ask him. I like the way he plays. I like the way he conducts himself, but I don't know if he has the experience to take the Celtic job. And that's the God honest truth. You could give this guy the job and it could be another Ronnie Doyle. It could be another Ronnie Doyle. That's the issue. Or he could come in and be an absolute gem of a manager. He could work the wonders that he's done at Motherwell. I think it's a big, big fucking risk. And some people might say to me in the comments, well, what about Nancy? Nancy had more on his CV by winning the MLS Cup and this and that. And he's managing less years than Askew. It's a good point, but I think people are looking at this guy too much because he's in the league. As I said, I'm not. My head says take him, but my heart is saying no. I just feel like there's so much that has to change next season, on and off the pitch, for this to work, for him to benefit from this. Because here's the question to the whole 48 years: are you going to accept second place next season with Askew because it's a rebuild season? If Rangers were to run away with it, or Hearts were to run away with next season, could you accept that? I guarantee you by November, if we were down by 10 points behind someone, you'd be fucking asking for his head. I know a lot of you would. I know a lot of you would, because a lot of you would feel like, oh fuck, I can't bear seeing them fuckers being on top of the league. I can't bear see it. This is what happens at times in football. I just feel like some fans feel like they're entitled. We're entitled to win titles. We're entitled to win this because we're the one that climbed the mountain and we've stayed on the Everest for so long. They can't accept sometimes we have to go back to base camp and start back over again. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. I'm not saying start back over from the whole fucking mountain, but from base camp onwards, So we're going to talk about Roberto Martinez as well. If he could subscribe to the channel tonight, it would be really appreciated. For me, if this happens, I wouldn't think it's the end of the world. I'll get behind Askew, but it's the board that I'd be concerned about. And could he get the likes of players on side up with his style of football? That way. As I said, Motherwell is not Celtic. So if you do good, fair enough, he's done absolutely unbelievable at Motherwell, but there's still 9 games to go, folks. Motherwell could fucking completely fall to fuck in these 9 games. But there's Owen. Hope you're doing well, Owen. Owen, I've been watching your YouTube channel. Keep up the good work, Owen. Great. I'll have you on one of the nights. It'd be great to have a chat with you. Keep up the good work, Owen. Watched one of your videos a couple of weeks ago. So richest club in the league. By a mile, we should be winning the league every year. I agree with you there. We should be winning the league every year, but it's not that easy. Like, the problem is, as we all know, the board do not spend. And clearly, Peter Lawwell, which is not there anymore, as they say, Peter Lawwell, his ambition was just to be domestically successful, not to be some sort of stamping point in the Champions League. Look tonight, right? I'm going to share the screen again, right? I don't know what score the Bodo Glint game has got. I don't know if it's still 2-0 or not, but we'll have a look anyway. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Bodo Glint. Bodo Glint's 3-0, right? 3-0. Look at that model. Look at that absolute model of Bodo Glint. Well deserved. Well deserved the way they have been. So I'm going to get Roberto Martinez on the screen as well. Now, the thing about Roberto Martinez, right? what gives me more reassurance about Roberto Martinez, as much as he hasn't really managed a big club in his career, bar Everton, and Everton are a big club, but I'm sorry, but like it's, I hate saying this, but Everton have a great stadium. Everton probably have a better stadium than we have right now because they only got a new stadium because we need to do work to our stadium. Um, does Roberto Martinez have the experience to land the Celtic job? I say yeah, because he's worked in the Premier League. He's done well with the Portuguese side, obviously the Spaniard. His win ratio with Portugal 75%, with Belgium 70%. He managed 62 games for Everton, space of 3 years. 30, oh no, he not managed 62 games. He won 62 games. He drew 37 and lost 44. 43% ratio. He won the FA Cup with Wigan. He won 41 games, 36 draws, 56. But what I liked about Roberto Martinez is he had players that fucking fought for him in them trenches. James McClarty was fucking class for him. It was actually class for him, you know. Arthur, of all people, he was MacArthur. He was good for him as well. Seamus Coleman played really well for him as well at Everton. Like, he's not a bad manager, and he's played in Scotland as well for Motherwell. The CV isn't the most fucking comprehensive CV you see, but he has more on his CV than Askew, and he's worked with proper professionals like Cristiano Ronaldo, you know, like the likes of Bruno Fernandes, players like that. He's worked alongside them. So he knows how to deal with high profile players. Askew hasn't really dealt with high profile players. A couple of so-called names at Copenhagen when he was an assistant manager. So I wouldn't be against this. And do you know what encouraged me about this appointment if it happened? His number two would be Sean Maloney. And Sean Maloney, right in there now, is trying to do the recruitment strategy behind getting players in from the league. So if it is Roberto Martinez after the World Cup, I'm sure we'll all get behind it as well. You know, we'll all get behind it. You know, he speaks quite well. You know, I think it'd work. I really think it would work. How much like people are saying it costs too much. I don't think it would cost too much. It's no brainer with Martinez. Martinez, his wife is from Scotland. His wife wants to move back to Scotland, and he obviously wants to reunite with his best pal, Sean. So I'm sure that it wouldn't be that much. I'm sure it wouldn't be that much. You know, if we can fork out fucking 5 million every 3 years for Brendan Rodgers, I'm sure we could fork it out for Martinez. And I'm sure Martinez will take the pay cut to come to Celtic because he's going to take the Portugal job and he's going to be looking for work anyway when he leaves the Portugal job. It's a good question. Let me see. Can you all hear me all right now? Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I think it clicked off something. Yeah, because y'all should be able to hear me now. Should be able to hear me now. Testing. Should all be able to hear me. Camera up on. There we go. I don't know what was happening. I think I clicked off something on when I put the iron brew can down. But I'll look into that now and I'll find out exactly how much Roberto Martinez. I'm sure he's on a decent salary being the manager of Portugal, obviously. But like I could check the likes of when he was at Everton. He's on 3.4 to 5. 3.5 to 4 million a year euros. Let's check per week. See what he's on per week. See, Spanish is earning a weekly wage of. When was that? That was he was offered. He's on 66 grand a week, 289,000 a month. Look, we can't. Look, that's a lot of money. Be honest with you. I think he'd be happy to cut that in half to come to Celtic, because it means he's going to have a chance of managing in the Champions League or even the Europa League. In that case, it's a lot of money, to be honest with you. But I think he will take the job, and that's not me bluffing. I think he will take the job because of the circumstances. Getting to work alongside Sean again, he knows how big Celtic is. Obviously, playing against Celtic in the past, so it's a no-brainer. He's lived in Scotland as well, so let's see what happens with that one. It depends on who wants him. I'm sure there's been talk. I'm sure there's get rid of some of their shite and you will have their wages. It's a great point. There is, like, you look at some of the players, they're on ridiculous money. Like Inanacho's on 30 grand. Would you have Srirachi that's on less than 7 grand? How does that work? How does that actually work, you know? Hello from Sydney, Australia. Big Celtic fan. Come on the hoops. Thank you very much. That is where he's all tuning in from. Sorry about the lighting, folks, as well. The lighting was a bit dodgy there. Just want to see, can I fix it? See, can I fix it? That's a bit better now. It's a bit better now. Right, let's move on. So Martinez is the second favourite. Who is the third favourite? Paddy Power's going up. Fucking Robbie Keane. Robbie Keane's going to take the Tottenham job. I'm coming around to not taking Robbie Keane, to be honest. As much as his CV is all right. Yes, he's played for Celtic. Yes, he's beaten Rangers in the Europa League, but not for me. Not for me. Roberto De Zerbi would not be against Roberto De Zerbi. I've actually liked him when he was at Brighton. Thought he'd done a really decent job at Brighton. De Zerbi. Right, let's look at Roberto De Zerbi's. What's Scott Allen? What about Scott Allen? It's going to be Maloney. Well, what about Martin O'Neill? What about Martin O'Neill? Because a lot of you still are keen. I think it's the emotion side of Martin O'Neill that a lot of people are like, oh, I like Martin O'Neill to stay on. Martin O'Neill's 74 years of age, folks. Let the guy enjoy the rest of his life. It's not healthy for him to be running over and pulling players off in the middle of a pitch of a derby. It's not healthy for him to do that kind of stuff, you know? But he's enjoying it. He's enjoying it. Let him enjoy the rest of his life. What I would love to see would be Martinez come in, Maloney number 2, Martin O'Neill director of football. That would be perfect. That would be a good shake-up. Because let's be honest, that board's not going to change their positions. You know, not going to change. So Roberto De Zerbi, right? Marseille didn't really work out with the Marseille gig. Brighton, he done really well with Brighton. I thought he done well in the Europa League with Brighton and stuff like that. Shakhtar Donetsk. So this is his win ratio. This is a guy that actually has a pretty decent CV, right? 57% at Marseille, right? 43 at Brighton. Even though I thought he had Brighton playing really decent football, to be honest with you. 67 at Shakhtar Donetsk. And then obviously these are all just little pokey clubs that he managed. But he's played for Cluj, he's played for Napoli, you know, Brescia. So would not be against the Italian. Would not be against De Zerbi if De Zerbi was a name on the list, to be honest. I think he's all right. Maloney was shite at Hibs. Has zero personality. I would count. Do you know what? You might say he has zero personality, but it's what the players believe in. You look at that penalty shootout the weekend before the penalty shootout, the charisma he was given in the middle of that huddle, the middle of that. Like, it's easy for fans to say that, oh, we don't want this, we don't want that, but he works with them on a daily basis. He's a good coach, and you see the passion that he gets. Yeah, his gig at Hibs was shit. He was terrible at Hibs. He only lasted like less than 90 days at Hibs, but he knows Celtic inside out. And if Maloney was to get the job, and it was Fozzie as number 2 and fucking Strachan, I think I'd be realistically, I financially, I think Celtic are either going to go with Maloney as the manager, O'Neill moves up, or it's going to be Askew with a shit transfer budget. That's what's going to happen. The board are not going to spend the money. They're going to use their cash reserve piggy bank for another rainy days, to keep saying, because they'll lose out on the money at the Champions League this year. You know, like I think he's a really fucking hitting digs at Sean Maloney. Sean Maloney deserves some credit. Like he's like, yes, it sounds like he's dragging words out at times. He's zero, but like you don't know what he's like behind the scenes. Like that's just the thing, you know. And Martin O'Neill has come out and said it about him and McGregor, that Maloney's doing most of the heavy work on the training pitch. So I think people need to lay off Sean Maloney. Well, I was look at. I'm not going to lie. Before Martin O'Neill came in with Maloney, that kind of first term before Nancy, I was a bit, better not be Maloney. And I think Maloney won over me. I could see his passion on the sidelines. I could see how much he's engaged into the game. You know, it's like it's all development for him as well. Like people go on about Maloney this, Maloney that, but Neil Lennon. Let's go back to Neil Lennon, right? Neil Lennon was a coach at Celtic, and only before Tony Mowbray got the sack, Lennon was asked to move up a level to take Celtic in turn, and he didn't win any trophies. He got beaten by Ross County in the semi-final at the Scottish Cup. So like you can't just completely jump off people's names in that way, and then Lenny ended up getting the gig, because you know why he got the gig? Because the fans bought into him, and because he was a cheap option. That's why. Like, as I said, if it is Maloney, it's not the end of the world if it's Maloney. You know, we could get worse. Could be worse out there than Sean Maloney. You know, he gets Celtic. He knows the, and obviously after the way that them shitheads shout at him, he'll be gulling to take the job and do well if it is in that case. But it's not the lack of ambition if Maloney does get it. It's an interview process, and it should be conducted the right way, with experience, with expertise, with a vision. What you're like, you know, you have to sell it. Without O'Neill, Maloney's nothing. Time will tell. Time will tell. You know, as I said, it's some people laugh, but some people say, "Oh, it could be easy to manage Celtic. Just common sense. Keep the same lineup, and not keep the same formation." It's not that easy. It's the pressure. It's the pressure. You know, not every player makes a good manager, but he's done all right as a number 2. You know, sometimes the number 2 needs the chance to get the number 1. But this is the funny thing. So, who would you rather? Would you rather Sean Maloney or Scott Brown? Here's the question to you: Sean Maloney or Scott Brown? Scott Brown hasn't achieved anything in his managerial career yet, but Sean Maloney has been a number 2, who worked with a national team who were first in the world. Yes, they did not win the Euros. Yes, they didn't win the World Cup, but they got into the semi-finals of the World Cup. People forget that. You know, that kind of stuff. You know, people are too emotionally attached to the whole Scott Brown thing, because they think, oh, Scott Brown's a phenomenal character. But if Scott Brown was a phenomenal character as a manager, no, I'm putting Bruni in there because Bruni's name is on the list. Because you get people that mention Bruni. Funny enough, I wouldn't touch Bruni. Simple as that. As I said earlier on, I wouldn't mind to see Bruni go to St. Mirren. But has he done enough to earn the St. Mirren job? Has he done enough to get the Hibs gig? Or has he done enough to even get an Aberdeen gig? No, he hasn't. Until he gets Ayr United promoted, that's when you start saying, okay, we have a guy on here. He's a decent manager, you know. But it's funny. Like I've actually had people in the comments on Facebook saying, "I'll take Scott Brown and Harpy over Maloney." I'm like, no, I wouldn't, because Sean Maloney's working within the club. Sean Maloney knows the creaks and the cracks. Scott Brown is not working with the club. Scott Brown hasn't worked at the club in fucking almost 5 years now. Like, so I wouldn't, like, if down the line, if it even came down to we sack a manager and someone says, "Oh, bring Scott Brown in, he'll get reaction." No, no, you need a man with a bit of everything. Yeah, we do. We do need a man that's a bit of everything. Right, we're gonna move on to the next guy. Let me see. Let me see. Who else do we have next on the list? Martin O'Neill. Martin O'Neill. As I said, I just touched on Martin O'Neill. Emotionally, I think I honestly believe if Martin wins the Scottish Cup or wins the league, let the guy go off and sail off in the sunset. Let him sail off in the sunset. If we don't win the league, we still rebuild and get a new manager. I just feel like Martin O'Neill, let the guy enjoy the rest of his life. He's 74 fucking years of age, you know? Like, managing Celtic is fucking stressful. Managing Celtic, the pressure's on delivering. And that man at his age, you think that's fair in him? You know? I think it's fair in him. It wouldn't be fair. Now, there is a guy I'm going to talk about before I head off in the next 5 minutes. Is a guy that I would not touch, would not let him touch Celtic, even though he's a good man manager, and he has been successful with a national team. I wouldn't let him touch Scott. I wouldn't let him touch Celtic, which is Steve Clarke. Steve Clarke is also a person that's going to be a free agent in the summer when he leaves Scotland after the World Cup post. Now let's be straight as it is with Steve Clarke, right? Steve Clarke, what the hell? Scotland's under 15 to now. What's that all about? That's completely a fucking hack up there. Steve Clarke has got Scotland to back-to-back Euro championships. He's got Scotland promoted to Format A in the Nations League. He did, and he also got Scotland to a World Cup for the first time in 28 years. He isn't good enough for the Celtic job. Yes, he's managed in the league, like Askew managed in the league, and he done well with Kilmarnock. I think Kilmarnock, if I'm right, did Kilmarnock finish third or fourth that year, folks? You can correct me. They were pretty decent. Like, look, his win rate, like 51%. So probably, he's not. I just personally wouldn't go near Steve Clarke. I just think his football is fucking boring at times. Boring, but yes, he gets results. It's just a strange one. It's just a strange one. It just gives me, Steve Clarke gives me, this sounds fucking nuts what I'm going to say. Steve Clarke gives me Tony Mowbray vibes. That's what Steve Clarke gives me. I know that sounds completely well. Done well with Livy. With Killy, you mean? With Killy. Yeah, he done well with Killy, but this is Celtic Football Club. This is not Kilmarnock. As I keep telling you, but Askew was at Motherwell. It's not Celtic. Yes, he's beaten Celtic. Askew has, Yeah. Well, Ange is not going to touch it. Ange is not going to come back. Mourinho wouldn't go near Celtic, even though he's hinting a move. He wants to move to Scotland. Shamrock Rovers manager Stephen Bradley, 28-1. He's happy at Rovers. Roy Keane, 50-1. Not a chance. Won't go near Roy Keane. Scott Brown's in there at 22-1. Craig Bellamy, 22-1. I think Craig Bellamy would not be against it, but he hasn't done enough on his CV as well. Askew will be more likely like a Mowbray than a Clark. Phil Clement. That used to be Phil Clement. Was that not the guy that was at Bayern Munich? Phil Clement, was it? His name hasn't been floating around in ages. I wouldn't touch Phil Clements. Good coach, but not manager. I take the mother. Lorna says, has to be someone who feels the club, otherwise they just don't get it. Well, Gordon Strachan didn't feel the club when he got the job and he done the job, didn't he? You know? And Gordon was a good servant as a Celtic manager. He got us into the Champions League knockout stages as well. Who do you think we need to announce as a new manager? All in, Dave. I think Martinez. I think Askew was going to be a cheap one. Even the scraping by the barrel will only be the cheapest. But Askew would be the cheapest one, but it'll be Martinez. Martinez has the Maloney relationship there. He's lived in Scotland. He's played against Celtic. He knows how big Celtic is. He's not a Nancy, you know that way. I would go Martinez after the World Cup. But something needs to be done in the background. If they're having that interview process and says, right, I'm going to take it in July, I'm coming in July, let Maloney start looking at players, let Maloney start doing all the strings, which is something like that is already happening, you know? Yeah, you're bang on right about Martin Tunney's job. That's it. Like, this is the thing. Like, you gotta understand, these people are human beings. If you come back into a gig and you do the gig, you come back for a reunion tour, the fairy tale can't keep going forever. You know, with Martin O'Neill. Martin O'Neill has done a phenomenal job. It's great that we're still in contention to win a title and win a Scottish Cup. Considering the shit mess that we've had this year, folks. It's unbelievable. And look, I think a lot of us were dreading 4 away games in a row, and look what we came out of it. We came out of it with a win at Stuttgart, a good comeback at Ibrox, a bang average victory. I know it sounds weird. Bang average victory at Pittodrie, and then a victory at Ibrox in penalties. So we've done well. We've overcome a lot of obstacles and a lot of doubts as well. You know, I'm with all your advice, Keith. I'm surprised Dermot hasn't tuned in yet. I don't have common sense like some other folks, but I'll just say as it is. Sometimes I stutter and think Celtic board will go for the cheap option and it will be a board yes man. Anyone's going to be a board yes man. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. No matter what we think, you're going to have to bend over for the board anyway to get the job. People do not understand this. Like, your bosses, you're going to have to say yeah to your bosses, like, to get the job, aren't you? Like, if Dunfermline's best Celtic in the cup front, Lenny will be talked about getting it. Wouldn't be surprised. But let's beat St. Mirren first. You've got the vision and the passion. I do sometimes. But folks, I would ask you to subscribe to the channel tonight. We really appreciate it. I'm gonna be busy for the next 3 nights, so they won't get podcasts down me, folks. You won't have me for the next 3 nights of podcast, but I'm gonna bring my laptop wherever I'm going in the next couple of days. And if I can do a live in a cafe, if I can do a live in a cafe wherever I am, or in the next couple of days, and chat to you, I will. I've no problem. But as I said, I'll be busy for the next 3 days. Videos will be getting put up on the channel, but it won't be me chatting. It'll be just like clips of other stuff and all that jazz. But anyways, folks, I better head off. I've shit to do. I really appreciate you all tuning in. Please press the thumbs up button. Or what you can even do is there's a hype button. So open the top right hand screen, you press this thing called hype. And what that does is it's free to do. You press that on YouTube and it basically pushes the algorithm. So if you want to hype that button, please hype that button. If not, I will see you another time anyway. But look, folks, I better go. Thanks very much for watching the live. Appreciate you all. Hell, Dom. Thank you very much, Pat. Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you very much, Kenneth. Thank you very much, Ian. Thank you very much, 89 Ags. Thank you very much, Stephen. Thank you very much, of course, to Mark and Cassie. Of course, John and Liz. Who else what I say Dougie, forgot Dougie Murray as well, Corey as well in there as well. Thank you very much, Lorna. Thank you very much, Danny. You know, thank you very much, Michael, as well. So yeah, really appreciate it. Really appreciate you all. These are comments, and Ian as well. I forgot Ian. God bless the Ian. But thank you very much, folks. Better go. Take care of yourselves. Hell.